You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. New to the community? Head to GabbyGordonShow.com today. Sign up for the mailing list for exclusive Q&As, conversations, and special surprises. Send in sports-related voice messages, including all questions, through our website to be featured in a future episode. Once again, that's GabbyGordonShow.com. GabbyGordon show.com. Let's kick off today's episode.
What is going on, sports fans? Welcome to the Gabby Gordon Show. I'm your host, Gabby Gordon, wishing you a very happy Tuesday, December 26th, 2023. First, just want to start off the show immediately by saying I hope you all had a phenomenal holiday weekend. For those who celebrate, we've had holidays all month long, so whatever you celebrate, or even if you don't celebrate, I hope you found peace and a nice break from your schedule and that you've enjoyed the time off. But with that being said, we are back to our regularly scheduled program Monday through Friday on the Gabby Gordon Show, and I cannot wait for today's episode. We've had so much football to talk about. Honestly, the MLB has been pretty quiet. The Yankees made a move. They acquired another pitcher today, and Estevan Florial was the exchange for that. We'll get into a little bit of that trade if we have time. Nothing major in the MLB, but the NFL, we've had some great football games and some really decent teams who are playing like train wrecks. And so we're going to get to all of that. We're going to recap the slate of games that was through the weekend and yesterday on Christmas. I'm just glad to talk sports again with you all because let's not forget, today and every day is a great day to talk some sports. Let's get right into it. You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. We'll get started right after this. I first want to give a huge shout out to the Gabby Gordon team. We have a new website up and running. It is GabbyGordonShow.com, and it is really the place for all the links that you could possibly need to access the show community, and all the things that we have to offer. Really trying to grow this into a thing that people want to listen to, because every day is a great day to talk sports. So please visit GabbyGordonShow.com, as you heard in the beginning of the episode, and utilize the voice message feature that we have, because I really want to interact with listeners and answer some questions. I know we're not a live show right now. We premiere at 5:30 p.m. every single weekday. This is also filmed on the same day it goes up, but it is filmed a little bit before 5:30. So please send a voice message to the voice message link on GabbyGordonShow.com, and you may hear your voice on a future episode of the podcast. Any sports-related questions, that's the place for it. Please utilize it as much as possible. If you see on my Twitter page as well, you'll see a link to it. So please go ahead, because I cannot wait to interact with you guys and hear what football or baseball or basketball or hockey you want to talk about. I also believe it was the Friday show where I mentioned my family's Christmas Eve tradition of heading to the cousin's house for Christmas Eve, and that every single year one of us gets sick, so nobody can always go together, and it's always 3 of us or 2 of us. It's never the full family of 4. This year, I think, marks our second year in a row where all 4 of us have made it there healthy and happy. And it almost turned out that the Christmas Eve party was going to have to be canceled because another child who was attending, who actually lives with the people who were hosting, their son was sick. Luckily, he was okay. Enough days before the Christmas Eve party, we were able to go. Had a great time. Just thought I should slip that in there at the beginning of the show. And just in case you guys were wondering and biting your nails to figure out if we all made it there on time and healthy. We did. It was wonderful, and we really enjoyed the time with family. There was a lot of really great football, too, to watch on Christmas Eve at the cousin's house. We actually had an NFL Red Zone. We were sitting in the living room. They moved the table into the living room because there's a lot of people, not enough room in their kitchen space to eat. So there was a kids' table upstairs, and obviously now I've upgraded to the adult table, and their TV was off. So as any logical football fans do, you take your phone out, you put NFL Red Zone on, and you watch those games. And they were some great games to watch. We were eating some delicious baked ziti, some delicious short rib, mashed potatoes. Shout out to the cook if you're listening. Phenomenal job on the meal. But we had some great games to watch on Christmas Eve, and we'll get to those, but I really just want to touch upon the game of the year that was played last night between Baltimore and San Fran. The Ravens took the win and put up an MVP performance out of Lamar Jackson, and they beat down on the San Francisco 49ers, and a lot of people are talking about it, so we will as well. Might I remind you coming into this game, and I still stand by my word, San Francisco 49ers are going to win this whole thing. And I believed that, and I told you that last week, and despite this brutal loss and this poor performance out of Brock Purdy, I still believe that they're going to win this whole thing. But Christmas night saw multiple MVP candidates taking the field. And following the Baltimore Ravens' 33-19 beatdown on the San Francisco 49ers, one was left standing, and that was Mr. Lamar Jackson, who deserves a round of applause for his performance because they were underdogs, the bets were against them, the 49ers were the favorites, and he came in there, used that as motivation, and showed them who he really is. He's Lamar Jackson, he's an MVP candidate, he's the Baltimore Ravens quarterback, and he beat them 33-19. And Lamar shined. He ripped apart a very good Niners defense to the tune of 252 passing yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. That was a 105.9 passer rating. And he also led Baltimore with 45 rush yards on 7 rushes. Those stats, just the numbers, those are solid numbers. But Lamar brings so much more to the table. And we see this each week. I really think he's improving as a player. I have always been the one to call him a running back. I've always been the one to say that without his legs, he would be nothing in this league. And while his legs are still a huge part of his game, he showed yesterday that he can absolutely do it as a quarterback does it. 2 passing touchdowns, 252 yards. He outplayed Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy doesn't rush nearly as good as Lamar does. So he really, really made a statement last night when the odds were against them. And, listening to this press conference, I gotta say, Lamar's growing on me. He is. I'm not becoming the bandwagon who's going to tell you that he's going to win the whole thing. He's going to win MVP. He's going to win the Super Bowl, because I don't believe those two things are going to happen. But his Christmas wish got granted yesterday in San Francisco.
We got the dub. I really don't care about the performance. I just wanted to win, and that's what happened tonight. On Christmas, that was my gift. They asked me at an interview a couple weeks ago, like, what would I want for Christmas? And my wish got granted. You just need to keep going, keep staying locked in, and keep staying focused. Because, we know what it was 2019. We was playing against guys like this, winning games, winning regular season games. And when the time came, we didn't finish the season, so we just going to keep taking it a day at a time, practice at a time, and a game at a time. That's all I'm focused on right now.
John Harbaugh also weighed in after the game last night saying, quote, "I thought Lamar had an MVP performance tonight. It takes a team to create a performance like that, but it takes a player to play at that level, to play at an MVP level. It takes a player to play that way." And Lamar was all over the field, doing everything. And then, Lamar's so nonchalant, and we see a lot of quarterbacks like that, and a lot of the really humble guys are the ones who you can root for. And as I listened to Lamar more, he really dismissed his MVP performance as nothing more than just a much-needed win in their quest for the number 1 seed in the AFC. He said, "I don't care about my performance, I just want to win." And that's what we did tonight. And he mentioned that was his Christmas gift, just a win. There's a lot of noise after wins like that, after huge games like that. And if Lamar can just stay focused, anything can happen for them. With that win, he improved to 6-0 in his career versus top 5 scoring defenses on the road. And the Ravens have averaged 26.5 points per game in those 6 games. He overcame pressure all game long. We know he's good at that. He can escape the pocket and makes throws. And he turns losses into gains with his legs and his agility. His season-long 30-yard scramble set up an end-of-the-half field goal to extend the Ravens' lead. On Baltimore's first drive of the third quarter, Lamar found space to get a release toss to Gus Edwards for a 39-yard gain. 2 plays later, the quarterback again extended the play. He kept his eyes downfield, and he found Nelson Aguilar for a 6-yard touchdown, and it was on. And I don't really think he cares much about MVP talk following their most impressive win of the season there. I do not think he cares at all, and that is what makes him dangerous. Let's remember, he was the unanimous NFL MVP in 2019, but they didn't win the whole thing. They exited in the divisional round, and they held the number 1 seed. And he mentioned that in the clip I played. He remembers 2019 all too well, and so do Ravens fans. So, I was texting somebody this morning who actually texted me and said Brock Purdy had a rough night. And I said, oh yeah, he did, but I still think they can win this whole thing. And I said, Lamar's the front runner for MVP now. It's, when you look at NFL MVP race for quarterbacks, because it's different for position players other than quarterbacks. And then you look at the quarterback MVP race, because usually it's a quarterback award, and you look at that, it's really like the Heisman race. It changes every single game. Brock Purdy was at the top, and now he's not. Now he's dropped a lot. And Lamar is at the top, what was shown yesterday. And I got a text from this person, and he said, I would much rather win a Super Bowl than win an MVP. I said, I 100% agree. Why, who cares about winning the MVP? The biggest comparison I can make to that statement would be the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. He was 2 years in a row MVP, but what did they win? What did they have to show for it? They had nothing. A good season, a number 1 seed, and then a divisional round exit or an NFC championship round exit. Happens all too often. And so Jackson knows that. Jackson remembers the history, and he's got to keep focusing on the end goal, and that is winning a Super Bowl. Whether or not he wins the MVP, that's winning a Super Bowl. Because at the end of the day, MVP award, that's wonderful and all. It's a very, very prestigious honor to win an NFL MVP. But what do you have in your own career if you win MVP but you can't do the whole thing? You can't go all the way. You're just going to be remembered as an MVP but not a winner. That's the difference. That's what these quarterbacks want. They want to be winners. They want to win this whole thing. Purdy wants to win this whole damn thing, and so does Lamar. And that's why these are the 2 best teams in the league right now, because these guys have their heads in the right spot. They have their heads in the right spot, but it was a nightmare for Brock Purdy on Christmas. He got coal in his stocking. He had a really bad day. It started really well for them, though. He connected with Kittle for a 58-yard running catch, and then he found Deebo Samuel in the end zone and didn't see Kyle Hamilton. Hamilton swooped in. He tallied the first of his 2 interceptions and Purdy's 4 interceptions on the night. At the end of the evening, Purdy was on the sidelines. He suffered an aggravation of a stinger and a thrown quartet of interceptions, if you will. It was a really bad day for Brock Purdy. But we are all entitled to bad days. And Kyle Shanahan thinks he's going to bounce back from this horrendous Christmas night. And he said, quote, our whole team struggled there in the second half, so it just wasn't him. I know he was disappointed not being able to finish it there, but given that stinger again, I just wanted to keep him out of there. Ready for him to bounce back next week. So let's look at Purdy's final line. He went 18 of 32 for 255 yards, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and just an awful 42.6 passer rating. Now we heard again from Kyle Shanahan that even though Purdy did go into the medical tent after he was sacked by Jadeveon Clowney, that I think that sack aggravated some sort of injury he's been dealing with. He came out of the game because they were erring on the side of caution, and that's why Sam Darnold came in for the last 2 drives. I really think he said he's okay. He just went through the protocol of everything, and they just wanted to be cautious. At that point, it's like there's no point in risking things. The 49ers are still in a very good prime position for their number 1 seed. They still define their own destiny, and they still have control of their own destiny. All they got to do is win out. And I think that's an easy task for them. If we look at their remaining schedule for the rest of the week, so for week 17, the 49ers are going to be taking on the Commanders. That should be a very easy win. 4-11 Commanders, they are away, but that doesn't mean anything because they lost at home last night. So that's at 1 p.m. on Fox next week. And that should be a very easy win where they kind of just thank the schedule because they can kind of, make mistakes and still come out with a pretty simple W. And then week 18, we talked about this in the terms of the Rams' playoff hopes. But if we're talking about in 49ers' hopes, they will be playing the Rams at home week 18. Rams are currently 8-7, playing some good football. That should still be a win for the 49ers. If we're talking about them winning this whole thing, they really should come in there and beat the Rams. And it shouldn't be all too tough of a challenge for them. Not saying it's going to be a blowout victory, but I'm saying it should be some clean played football on the 49ers side, and it should be a pretty respectable win for them. So that's really all they got to do. And then whatever shoulder thing that Purdy's dealing with, if they can get that first round bye, the home field advantage, number 1 seed, all of that would be incredibly beneficial to them, putting them in the best spot to do this whole thing and win this whole damn league. And I think they can do it, guys. I really think they can do it. I know it was a tough game for Purdy last night. Horrendous is the word to use. It wasn't just a bad game. It was a horrendous, abysmal, disgusting performance. Any day you throw 4 interceptions and have a passer rating of 42.6, you're going to forget that. You want to forget that game. Or use it as motivation. But everybody's entitled to it, and get the stuff out now. Get these mistakes out now. Week 16, okay, let it out. But now, 17, 18, pedal to the metal. Show no mercy. Get that number 1 seed. And then go ahead and do this whole thing. Go all the way. You got it out week 16, but now there's no more excuses. Now you've got to really show people that you're a Super Bowl team. I didn't expect to spend that much time on this matchup, but it was the biggest game of the season, without a doubt. These are just the 2 best teams in the league, and it was a nice game to watch for the Ravens side. I wish it would have been a little bit closer, a little bit more exciting. But when you overhype a game, you know it's never going to live up to the hype. So we'll see how the 49ers can bounce back, and we'll see if the Ravens take this into their next matchup against the Dolphins on December 31st. They will be home for that one. That could be a tricky matchup because the Dolphins are coming off of a really, really nice win, and their hopes are high. So we'll see how that goes for both sides. After the break, we're going to get into some teams that have not been playing good football at all. That has to be the Philadelphia Eagles. We're not even going to talk about that matchup until after the break because that was horrendous for them. Don't care whether or not they won, which they did. Don't care if they put up 33 points. And they let up 25 to the 5-10 New York Giants now, who were 5-9 coming into that matchup. Horrendous game. They should be embarrassed. The Chiefs should be embarrassed. Patrick Mahomes should be embarrassed. Travis Kelce should be embarrassed. We got 2 teams that should be at the top of their respective divisions who are not playing good football right now at all. Let's talk about it after the break. Welcome back to the Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon. If you're just tuning in, we just kind of covered the whole spread of things between the 49ers and the Ravens, best teams in the league, and they really showed why they are. And the Ravens really showed that they have the upper hand right now, so we'll have to see how San Fran and Brock Purdy and that whole squad can bounce back from that really tough loss. But a team that really needs to get their act together right now is the ugly, ugly Eagles. There is no more fly, Eagles, fly. It is there is nothing. They are the bye Eagles bye right now because they are just kissing their playoff run goodbye. Right now, they look nothing more than a mediocre team that is inching their way into the playoffs with really, really disgusting wins. Because what they were supposed to do against the Giants was the complete opposite of the performance that they put out on the field at home against the New York Giants. This was supposed to be the game that the Eagles raised their confidence with a coaching staff that's under fire right now, with an organization that has a lot of questions surrounding it from the outside noise. They were supposed to come in there, get business done. It should not have been a tough game. It's the New York Giants at Lincoln Financial Field. I mentioned it. I said if any day for the Giants to come into Philly's home and beat them down, it was going to be this game, and it almost happened. They just got by. We watched this game yesterday with Eagles fans. There were Eagles fans in the house. My family are Giants fans. I'm not a Giants fan or an Eagles fan. I'm a Packers fan. So I'm really just watching, and I'm rooting for the Giants to come in there and knock some Philly butt, like I said so many times last week. But these Eagles fans on the edge of their seats. Because they just got by a team like the Giants that is just abysmal and disgusting. For a team that was put on stage to potentially win this Super Bowl, they look nothing more like a team that is just declining rapidly at the wrong time. And while the whole Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito thing seems to have been dying down, we'll get to that after, and Tyrod Taylor blew up the Eagles' defense, something's wrong with Jalen Hurts. I will keep saying it until he proves me wrong. Something's wrong with him. The Eagles were clinging to a 20-18 lead after Jalen Hurts' third interception in the last two games, and that pick was a pick six, followed by a 2-point conversion because Jalen Hurts decided to horse collar tackle the guy. 4 ticks left to play. The Giants were sitting at the Eagles' 26, and New York was in a position to tie this game. And although they didn't, because they're still the New York Giants, it should have never come down to that. And you want me to make it sound a lot worse for you Eagles fans listening? Coming into this game, the Giants were the only team in the league to score less than 200 points. They were at 189. They had been outscored by an NFL high 149 points. They have given up 338 this year. Over the previous 3 games, the disparity between the Eagles and the Giants was Grand Canyon wide. You look at the teams, this huge rivalry, and it was nowhere close. And on Christmas Day, that gap got really, really tight. And they scored, the Giants, almost as many points against the Eagles as they did in the 3 previous games combined. Let me repeat that. The Giants scored almost as many points against the Eagles last night as they did in the 3 previous games combined. If that is not embarrassing for the Eagles, I don't know what is. It's not even embarrassing at this point. It's alarming. It's alarming. What is going on with this team? What's going on with Jalen Hurts? Why can't he find it? Ever since this whole flu sickness thing where he had a horrendous game against the Seahawks and he couldn't bounce back from that one, now he's almost dropping to the New York Giants. I think there's something else going on that team that we haven't heard about yet, and then it's going to come out eventually because somebody's going to say the wrong thing out of frustration, and we're going to hear something, and it's all going to make sense. There were some positives for the Eagles. I'm trying to be unbiased here because I really have nothing to side with either team for. These teams mean nothing to me as a fan, as a football fan. As somebody who runs a sports talk show, this story means a lot because the Eagles should not have made it this close as they did. It should not have been a nail-biter victory for the Eagles. But there were some positives. Jake Elliott, kicker for them, went 4 for 4. He got field goals of 28, 21, 44, and 43. He's been so automatic this season. He's been so reliable. He's been one of the biggest reasons that they were able to win this game. DeAndre Swift had some nice late fourth quarter drives. He tore through the Giants defense for 43 yards on 7 straight carries. Hurts' 32-yard pass to A.J. Brown on a 3rd and 10 at the Eagles' 26th. That was early in the fourth quarter. The Eagles' first half was pretty decent as well. They needed that because they scored on 4 of their first half possessions. and they outgained New York 212-101. They averaged almost double yardage per play than the Giants in the first half. Hurts scrambling to find Kenneth Gainwell for 19 yards on a 1st and 10 at the Eagles' 44. That was on their first play of their 5th drive, just before the 2-minute warning at halftime. There were some positive things, but this is just, the bad just outweighs the good here, because the Eagles' second offensive series should have resulted in a touchdown. They only got a field goal. Then you have ugly plays like Reddick's roughing the passer penalty on 1st and 10. Reed Blankenship gets roasted by Darius Slayton, 70-yard touchdown. Hurts' 76-yard third-quarter pick six. The fumbled kickoff to open the second half. So many mistakes by a team that's trying to win this whole thing. They look to no better than the Giants. It does look like Tommy DeVito's one-hit wonder 15 minutes of fame has come to an end. After Tyrod Taylor's performance, again, the Eagles are not playing at their best. When they're 100%, does Tyrod Taylor have that success? Probably not. But the Eagles, there's something going on, and he took advantage of it. That's respectable. And Tyrod is going to most likely be the starter. He will be the starter for them for the remainder of the season. Tommy DeVito's story is probably done. I never thought he was an NFL quarterback. I thought it was a cute story while it lasted. I think it's over now. So, with that, maybe the Giants fans were focused a little bit too much on Tommy DeVito. Now they're back into football. And, if I'm a Giants fan, I look at this game, and even though the Giants are the Giants and have been devastating all year, this makes me real happy because we put up a really respectable performance against a good team, against our rivals. And we're still losing, so we still have better chances in the draft to get the guy we want. It's a win-win for the Giants. You put up a great game, a respectable game, and a game that embarrasses the team you hate, and you still are able to get the positive out of it by still losing. For the Giants fans, they're coming into today, and they are listening right now, and they are over the moon happy. It was the best case scenario for them. But if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm looking at this game against Las Vegas, and I'm saying, what the heck happened? What the heck happened? Travis Kelce threw his helmet in a tantrum. Andy Reid scolded his star tight end on the sideline after that. Of course, we still got countless camera shots from Taylor Swift on CBS consoling Brittany Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, frustrated, angry, screaming at his sideline. The Chiefs were expected to roll the Raiders on Christmas. And something entirely different happened from a team that is just not able to find success and not able to put it together. They lost 20-14. It was so average of a game from all sides on that Chiefs squad. You can lose to the Bills. You can lose to the Eagles. You can lose to the Packers. It's a little bit less respectable. You can lose to the Broncos on the road. All those games were on the road against pretty decent teams. Maybe not the Packers or the Broncos, but the Bills and the Eagles, understandable. The Raiders at home, Arrowhead. And when you just thought that Patrick Mahomes could maybe turn this around, reach into his magical backpack, and bring the Chiefs back, he could not get it done. I have never seen the Chiefs as vulnerable as they have been in the Mahomes era as they are right now. They have lost 3 of 4. They are 3-5 since a 6-1 start to their season. The Chiefs were dead. They were buried. And we thought they were going to come back to life against the Raiders at home. And they've just been buried deeper. I do want to make a point to be careful about crossing off the Chiefs this season. It appears very, very disgusting right now. We've used that word a lot today. A lot of teams are playing disgusting football at the wrong time. And everybody can see right through them. The issues are right there in plain sight. There is no explosiveness in their offense. They got just 14 points against an average at best, and that's being generous, an average at best Raiders defense. And when Mahomes needed to bring the Chiefs back and be the leader that we have seen him be for the past 5 years of his career, give or take, he couldn't do it. That's because his receivers aren't very good. Aside from maybe Rashee Rice, and he's a rookie, let's not forget that. Even his main man, Travis Kelce's looking less dominant at age 34. Maybe the stress from the media about Taylor Swift has gotten to him. He has gone 8 games without reaching 100 yards. And 5 straight without a touchdown. When's the last time you heard that out of Travis Kelce? Mahomes has done more yelling and whining and has been angrier this season than the rest in his entire NFL career combined. The Chiefs have 6 losses. The last time they lost that many games was 2017 when Alex Smith started at quarterback ahead of first-round rookie Patrick Mahomes. And they weren't a good Chiefs team back then, and it's simply not a great Chiefs team right now. But all of that said, they still do have Andy Reid, who's one of the best in the business, and Patrick Mahomes, who is still one of the best in the business. Of course, the Chiefs have serious issues, but the entire league has their issues. If you made it to Christmas and you still have the same offensive issues you did in September, then they are not getting fixed. But the Chiefs do have a top 10 defense. And that held the Raiders to 205 yards and 0 offensive touchdowns yesterday. And no offense to 49ers, John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan. Sorry, that is the Ravens, John Harbaugh. I meant 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, or anyone else. The Chiefs probably have the best head coach in the playoffs right now. We can't talk about Bill Belichick because he's just having his horrendous season himself. So when it comes to the recent playoff history, I got to go with Andy Reid if I want to coach. I also mean no offense to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or any other big-name quarterbacks, but Patrick Mahomes is probably the best QB in the playoffs. That might not even be an argument. You should still take Patrick Mahomes over any other quarterback because he still makes ridiculous plays seem easy, even in the game against the Raiders. He still is ridiculous. And so Reid and Mahomes really still gives anyone a shot at a deep playoff run, no matter what record they sit at coming into Week 17. And look, it's not like the Chiefs haven't had adversity in the Patrick Mahomes era. It just hasn't lasted this long. And they've been able to patch it up or fix it in previous seasons where they've been able to get past it. The Chiefs have to embrace who they are right now. They're a flawed football team. And Patrick Mahomes needs to be Superman more than ever. He needs to step up because, look, I know he's frustrated. We don't see Patrick Mahomes like this. He's usually the cool kid on the field, the one who doesn't show emotion, the one who sticks up for his team, but now we're seeing him yell every single drive. He's getting pissed. He's getting pressed at his players. He can't find Travis Kelce. He can't find any receivers because he's got nobody else. So they are a very flawed team. But I still am not going to count them out because it is still Patrick Mahomes. It is still Travis Kelce, and it is still Andy Reid, and it is still that powerful trio that can turn this thing around in one singular play. Mahomes is a freak of nature. He's been compared to Tom Brady time and time again. All he's got to do is step up and be Superman. Tom Brady didn't always have the greatest offenses. He had adversity, but he stepped up and he did incredible, crazy things. Mahomes is capable of doing incredible, crazy things and putting an entire team on his back and winning in the playoffs and making a deep playoff run too. He just hasn't gotten there. He hasn't done it. Something's not clicking. And so while I'm not going to count them out, it's very possible they can still bounce back. After the break, we're going to take a look at a team in Dallas that cannot win on the road. This game's supposed to be their statement-making game, a turnaround in their season of analysts and reporters claiming that they are automatic loss on the road. And what did they do? They just proved the point even further. Dallas, Miami. We'll get to it after the break. Is it an overreaction or a reality to state that the Cowboys will be a one and done in the playoffs? You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon, and I'm going to say right now, right here, it's a reality. The loss to the Dolphins was a massive loss in regards to the Cowboys playing a playoff game at home, where Dallas is dominant at home. On the road, they are 0-4 against teams with winning records. 3-0 at home. Guess what, Dallas? You're not going to get the opportunity to play at home in the playoffs because you can't win games right now on the road in the regular season. Dallas is probably the best team in the league at home, but they're probably not even going to get to play a home playoff game anymore. With the Eagles' schedule, they're playing the Giants twice, they're playing the Cardinals. Dallas might be staring down the number 5 seed at this point and playing a road game against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who are winners of 4 straight games, and Baker Mayfield is playing phenomenal. Is anybody convinced that Dallas can beat a team on the road with a winning record right now? Because I am the furthest from convinced. Even if Dallas could beat Tampa Bay on the road, they would still face San Francisco. They would face Detroit. They could even face the Eagles on the road in the next round after that. And right now, beating a red-hot Bucs team is not a given. The Cowboys are going to enter the playoffs 0-4 against teams currently with winning records on the road. And that is not a good sign. And Micah Parsons is just being an idiot. He sent a really stupid message out to the NFL. He's probably going to face some big fines. He was not happy. Number one, because his team lost. The frustrations in the locker room are probably at an all-time high. It's probably pretty tense with the media talking about the Cowboys unable to win on the road. Parsons believed he was held by the Dolphins offensive lineman several times during the game, and there were no penalties called. And Cowboys fans, too, were very upset with the way the game was called Sunday. One replay did show a Dolphins offensive lineman tackling a Cowboys defender during a run play, and no flag was thrown for holding on the play. So Parsons takes to social media, on his Instagram story Sunday night, and he wrote, quote, "Free me, dog. Whatever I did to the officials, I'm sorry." The picture in the background shows the Dolphins offensive lineman blatantly holding him. It was a missed call. He has a right to be angry. But now, he's probably subject to a pretty decent fine for his complaint on social media. Let's not forget when the Chiefs, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were severely punished for their outbursts at the officials after their game against the Bills. That whole offsides penalty on Kadarius Toney, they got punished for that. And the NFL probably didn't appreciate what Parsons had to say on his Instagram Sunday night. He's probably going to be asked to cough up some serious cash next weekend. He makes a lot of money. Is it really that big of a deal to him? I don't know, but when those types of things happen in your locker room, when a teammate is so tense and it just doesn't make for good camaraderie. It doesn't make for good football anymore. And the Cowboys are continuing to get hit with this losing bug. It's the best way to put it. It almost reminds me of the tension that seems to be on the Chiefs is starting to spread to the Cowboys because their failure is starting to propel towards potentially being first-round exits, as are the Chiefs. And so, all in all, it's a similar situation. CeeDee Lamb also had some things to say as well, maybe in a more discreet manner and not directed towards the NFL, more directed towards potentially his coaching staff. CeeDee Lamb was all over the place, and they were able to keep him away from Jalen Ramsey, and he was exploiting the mismatches across the Dolphins secondary. In the first quarter alone, CeeDee Lamb had 4 catches for 93 receiving yards and 5 targets, and he had a phenomenal 49-yard touchdown. So CeeDee Lamb was making huge impact plays throughout that first half of football. He even was able to do it without actually touching the football at all. On a key 4th down play, his alignment in the backfield actually was able to manipulate the Dolphins' defense. And Tony Pollard's should have been touchdown play on the opening drive. His alignment in the slot to the backside also had a similar effect. So, in other words, Mike McCarthy was really cooking as he used CeeDee Lamb as their biggest target. But for some reason, heading into the second and third quarter of the game, Lamb had nothing. He had no targets, no catches, nothing. And it didn't have to do with Jalen Ramsey suddenly shadowing him, because that never happened throughout the game. Ramsey was nowhere to be found throughout the game on CeeDee Lamb. So that brings me to the point that Lamb made some spicy comments during the post-game interview that proves that the situation was pretty odd. He even was confused, and it could very well be perceived as some bad coaching by Mike McCarthy at the handling of his offense. And so Lamb told reporters when they asked if the Dolphins played him differently after his start, he said, quote, "I don't know. I just feel like if I'm going to be involved, just keep me involved and let the game do what it got to do." End quote. Kind of interesting there. I don't think he necessarily means to make these comments anything to speculate. But it also isn't the first time he's made a comment like this. Back in week 5, he actually called out the Cowboys for not getting him involved more against the 49ers. It would be fair to say his message back then fueled the clear mindset shift we've seen since that bye week that they had. He's been easily their best target, and this time I'd say it was probably more of a subtle shot to the Cowboys. But it was still very revealing. Some could criticize him for what he said. And I think he has every right to say what he said. How is it logical that when a wide receiver is playing and just tearing up the secondary against your opposing defense, how is it logical? Why? In your right mind as a coach, whether it was from Mike McCarthy or any of their coordinators, why in the right mind of the coaching staff for Dallas is it a good idea to change it up if something is working? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the term, right? CeeDee Lamb was not in need of fixing. So what's the point of changing up the offense? What's the point in making the change and taking the ball out of your best receiver's hands when he is continuing to produce and continuing to tear up that defense and doesn't have any problem staying away from Ramsey, and he's exploiting the mismatches on the secondary. He's making impact plays without even touching the football. So why are we fixing something when it isn't broken? We're trying to do too much. Had the Cowboys done the smart thing and kept giving CeeDee the ball, the outcome could have been very different in this game. It was clearly working, and for some odd reason, the offense didn't look at him in the four drives they had in the middle 2 quarters of the game. They didn't go back to him once. It doesn't make sense. And it, to me, looks like poor coaching and trying to do too much. If it isn't broken, there is no need to fix it. And they just made some dumb decisions. The game was close. The game was incredibly close. The final score of that game was 22-20. Cowboys lost by 2 points. What's to say that if CeeDee Lamb was still getting balls in there and still getting targeted, that they couldn't have won that game? I think they absolutely could have, and that would have changed everything for them. Because not only would it have been a statement-making thing for the media and for the outside sources that are saying that they are unable to win on the road, but it also would have been a major confidence booster for their team. And now because of the stupidity in the coaching staff, or whatever their scheme was coming into the second half of that football game, they are still the fraud Cowboys who can't win on the road and who aren't going to make it very far in the playoffs. It's stupid, man. I mean, it's just stupid. It's trying to do too much when you don't need to. And there's no need for that. Just keep it simple. Especially when you're struggling on the road and when your team's been struggling as of late. Keeping it simple and letting things happen when they're working is really the only thing you should be doing. I'm no NFL head coach. I've never claimed to be. I will never, ever claim to be as knowledgeable as the guys who run football teams. But I will say this much. You don't fix it when it's working, because there's nothing to fix when it's working. And it's just stupidity if you're going to start to play with pieces that don't need to be played with. So now you got the Cowboys, who are at home on Saturday, December 30th, but they're playing against the Lions, and the Lions are on a massive high right now, clinching the division for the first time in so long. Jared Goff's playing his career-high season. Dan Campbell is one of the best coaches in the league. They've got a great team all around, and they could very well go far. Even though the Cowboys are at home, and we rave about how positive the Cowboys are, and they're probably the best team when they're at home, now with all this drama going on, and with some questions and some tension there by players that aren't happy with the outcome of these games, I think the Lions could absolutely come in there and stomp on the Cowboys. Cowboys may not win again this season. It's very possible that they don't win again this season. I could 100% see that being an outcome for them. It's certain times like this where you are struggling because you are now in week 17 of football, and the football regular season is grueling. The NFL is grueling, and players are hurting, and players' stamina is running out. And teams are working their butt off from all different angles, trying to make a playoff run, and there's only so many spots to do it. And it is the teams that coach smart and simple and keep to what they are doing that is working that ultimately end up making a name for themselves in the playoffs. And the Cowboys are not doing that. The Chiefs are not doing that. The Eagles are not doing that. So many teams are not doing that. And that is why today's entire show focused on the toilet bowl of teams that should not be regarded in such a manner. We should not be talking about the Eagles the way we are. We should not be talking about the Chiefs the way we are. And we should not be talking about the Cowboys the way we are. But they leave us no choice. Why? Because they are putting up pitiful performances, and they shouldn't be. Just put it simply, they shouldn't be. Any day the Giants have a better football game than the Eagles, we're going to talk about it. Any day that the Chiefs lose to the Raiders at home in Arrowhead Stadium, we're going to talk about it. Especially when Travis Kelce is playing awful and his tension is rising. And any day when the Cowboys continue to show that they are not coached properly, we're going to have to talk about it. And I'm sure there'll be more to talk about throughout this week, because this is where it matters. The final 2 weeks of the season are upon us, and the playoffs are right around the corner, and we're going to see some teams as first-round exits that we thought could go all the way, and we're going to see teams that we thought would be the first-round exits potentially go most of the way. With that being said, that is all for today's show. Look, I know today's show was kind of negative because we're talking about these teams, and these teams are negative right now. They're putting out negativity, but it's only Tuesday. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to have some fun. So do not forget to visit GabbyGordonShow.com. Send in some voice messages. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to say regarding these teams. I want to hear who you are, where you're from, and what you believe in the NFL. And I want to be able to contact you and answer your questions. So please make sure you go to GabbyGordonShow.com, click on the voice message tab, send me something, and maybe you'll hear yourself on tomorrow's episode, or Thursdays, or Fridays, or whatever. We're going to have fun, I promise. But we do need to get through some of the nitty-gritty stuff in order to get to the fun stuff. And it's nitty-gritty time, folks. For a lot of football teams, they're getting their hands dirty, they got dirt under their nails, and they are getting nitty-gritty. If you're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show, my name's Gabby Gordon. So blessed to have you joining me this evening. I will catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Let's talk some more sports tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.